Hello, welcome. In this video I will show you what mental APM is, how to build habits, how to use triggers and how to push your limits as a player. So first of all, what is mental APM? APM, actions per minute. This is a fairly known term in the gaming community. So mental APM is the amount of things we can think in a minute. We could change this period of time to other stuff, but let's just use that for now. So what could we think about? You have the beautiful graph on the right side. Like we have like minimap, cooldowns, hitting spells, positioning, threat assessment. We cannot think about all of this at one time, so we need to choose. And then the more we can choose, the better our APM is. Why is it important? Well, first of all, the more information you can collect and process at a time, the better of a player you are, especially macro-wise. This is the third point. The more you know, the more information you have, and the faster you can process it, the better your decision-making process will be. So this simply makes you a better player if you could get your mental APM to be higher. Other things, you avoid autopiloting, because autopiloting means being on an autopilot, so you don't really think about anything, maybe you think about one thing at a time. This simply is very dull, you know, like it's like an engine working inefficiently. We don't want that. We want you to run at 100% capacity at all times when playing the game. The higher you get your mental APM, the more focused you will be, and it's harder to fall into autopilot mode. Because, note, that if your mental APM is high, you are constantly bombarded with information to process. And since you are actually taking that in and you are working on processing it, it's very hard to suddenly zone out and go into autopilot. Then the last thing is that it speeds up your improvement, since in order to improve at something, the general advice, which is pretty correct, is to like take one thing and focus on it. So the better you can focus on it, the faster you will improve, obviously. Since, let's say we take trading, right? What goes into trading? We have cooldowns, we have pacing, we have general lane positioning, we have dodging, right? We have matchup knowledge. And if you can focus on all of that at one time, then your trading gets better. Note, it's a simplification. I don't recommend focusing only on trading. You need to break this down into smaller skills, for example spacing, and focus only on that. As we know, there are already some things we don't need to think about. We don't need to think about clicking around, you know, like walking with our character. We aim skill shots automatically. So these are the things that your brain just does subconsciously. These are habits, and we want to take the other harder things, like jungle tracking, and also make them a habit. And that way we become better. Our brain can focus on actually playing the game, and we don't have to constantly focus on random stuff that happens in the background because we don't have enough mental APM to process it. So how do we build habits? So the most important thing in building a habit is a trigger. You need something that will trigger you to make a certain action. So let's say that your map awareness is bad and you want to look at the minimap and read information from it. So let's take something that you do all the time. Every game you will CS, let's say you are a mid laner. So every time you CS, you want to look at the minimap. This isn't the most efficient way to play, but this is a good way to start and form a habit. And after, let's say, 10 games of looking at the minimap while you are CSing, you will not have to think about this consciously, and that way it will become a habit, a good habit at that. So here, clicking to CS is the trigger. We see, okay, I am clicking to CS, look at the map, and then we are building a habit of looking at the minimap. You can apply this to other stuff too. Let's say that you're a support and you want to time summoners, but you don't know when to do that, and you don't want to like die while you are typing. So let's say every time you recall after you buy items, you will now focus on timing the summoners in chat. And that way, backing and buying items is your trigger, while timing summoners is your habit. And after 20 games, 30 games, however long it may take, you will be doing that automatically, and you will be able to move on to the next thing. A very important thing that was mentioned by other content creators, for example, Coach Curtis in his Danger Zone video, when you learn a new skill, your level of play will drop for a certain amount, for a certain period of time. Because if we are CSing and looking at the map, then we are so occupied by the action of like, okay, I need to CS and then I need to look, that you will not properly read information from it yet. Which means that you will die to random ganks, you know, you will not notice support roams, your trading will get worse, the game becomes shit. But after you get the habit done properly, after you build it, you will be able to read the information from the map subconsciously, and you will notice those over-the-world ganks, you will be able to, let's say, focus on jungle tracking. The game becomes way easier and you are a better player, which is signified by the green uphill in the graph. But note, it does plateau. After some time it goes back to yellow, and after you pick up a new learning objective, it goes back down and then goes back up. So this is something that we want to focus on. I highly suggest that you take notes from this video. It's pretty short. It should be pretty easy to remember. This is an introductory lesson. It's supposed to make you understand the framework that we will be working in this playlist. That way you will know what I mean if I say about setting up triggers, about building habits. It's a neat little thing that you can apply to most real life situations, like you're at work and you tend to lose focus while working, right? Then you could set up a trigger like a buzzer, you know, like every half an hour to remind you to focus. This can be used in the learning process pretty much everywhere. A league is just an example that we use here. Go and look at what you are doing. Go and look at what habits you are missing and look to build them. This will make you a better player. Obviously things are more complicated than that, because you cannot just say, okay, I will become better at trading, and suddenly you are better at trading. Things do not work that way. Again, this is only an introductory video, and we will be going more in depth into how to learn specific skills in the next ones. See you later.